If someone asked you to compile a list of every method of scoring in football, could you do it? Well, you might say to yourself, I'm a well-seasoned football fan, I could easily do that. We've got touchdowns, 1-point conversions, offensive 2-point conversions, defensive 2-point conversions, field goals, safeties, rouges in the CFL, and 1-point safeties in the NFL and NCAA. That's it. The end. Well, believe it or not, there is another way of scoring that is only possible in the CFL thanks to its kicking rules, but is so insanely hypothetical that the rulebook doesn't even technically cover what's supposed to happen in the event of it, or even what it's called. But I think it can comfortably be said that it should be called the defensive 1-point conversion. Let me explain. You know that one time when Doug Flutie drop-kicked an extra point? Well, in American football, you can only do that when you line up in formation to do that intentionally. In a more recent game, a punter fumbled the snap, dropped it on the ground, and kicked it on the bounce, which, while technically a drop kick, was ruled illegal, since they were in punting formation. This kind of idea does not exist in the CFL. Not only could a punter drop kick, a receiver could also do it from past the line of scrimmage through the uprights for a field goal after a pass. So now imagine if it's a 2-point conversion attempt and the defense gets the ball. Looks like he's going all the way for the defensive 2-point conversion. If at the last moment he chooses to drop kick the ball through the uprights, that would technically be a defensive 1-point conversion. As I mentioned earlier, this scenario is so ridiculously hypothetical that there is no rule in the rulebook that specifically says the defense can score 1 point this way. However, if the defense could intercept a pass at any other point in the game and drop kick it through for 3, then I don't see why 1 point wouldn't be the ruling in our scenario. As the CFL off-season approaches, it would be great to see the Rules Committee focus on specifying whether or not this is possible. I doubt this play will happen in my lifetime, or anyone's to be honest, but it feels like a missing piece of the CFL scoring puzzle. Believe it or not, there used to be another way of scoring 1 point in the CFL that did not involve kicking. The only example I know of this happening was in an exhibition game on July 25, 1963, between Hamilton and Winnipeg. The Bombers threw a pass into the end zone, which was picked off by Hamilton. Both teams had penalties, an offside on Winnipeg and a clipping penalty on Hamilton. The referees decided that Hamilton could accept the Winnipeg penalty and have the Bombers keep the ball but further back, or they could give Winnipeg a point but keep possession of the ball and scrimmage from the 25. The Ticats chose to give up a point, making the score 8-1 after it was already 7-1, with a single being credited to the receiver who was clipped against. I hate to admit it, but I'm not entirely sure of how exactly this rule was enforced. I'm sure there were plenty of other end zone interceptions back then, but I don't really see those going for singles. The crowd of 8,000 at the game were apparently bewildered by the call, so it may have been a new rule that year that didn't stick around for too long. The game was also super close. On the last play, trailing by 8, the Bombers got a touchdown and the conversion, but 2-point conversions weren't introduced in the CFL until 1975, so they had to settle for a 1-point 24-23 loss. If the CFL had the 2-point conversion in 1963, then this penalty point would have set Winnipeg up to be in a scenario where on the last play, touchdown, they could have gone for 2 and tied the game. Now, of course, it was exhibition, so it doesn't really matter, but it's still interesting to think about. Anyway, if you know anything about either of these scenarios, let me know in the comments, and if obscure football rules are your thing, feel free to subscribe. You've come to a great place.